We're shifting focus to some breaking news. We're picking up as the center Twitter face-off continues. The government has now posted a strong message to Twitter on coup. The center tweets, and I quote, upon the request of Twitter seeking a meeting with the government, the Secretary IT was to engage with senior management of Twitter. In this light, a blog post published prior to this engagement is unusual. The government will share its response soon. So you have the government once again making clear that there's no place for the hate content, and in yet another development between the centre versus Twitter face-off, centre now upping the ante. It has posted a strong message to Twitter on coup. Remember, coup application, indigenously developed application that we're talking about, and now the centre has taken to coup to put out this message, and I quote, upon the request of Twitter seeking a meeting with the government, the Secretary IT was to engage with senior management of Twitter. In this light, a blog post published prior to this engagement is unusual. The government will share its response soon, is the centre's latest reaction, because remember, it all began with Twitter seeking a meeting with the IT minister over the government notice, said that tweets must continue to flow. It responded to the government, reached out to the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology for a formal dialogue. Though we've not picked up more on that meeting, but quickly going across to Niranjan, my colleague, also joining us with more details. Centre upping the ante, Niranjan, and posting this message on coup.
Well, if you look at the tone of Twitter in their response that was posted, in fact, there was a detailed statement that was put out. Twitter citing freedom of speech and a blog that was put out. And they've sort of tried to justify why they reinstated the handles that were asked to be brought down, and they have gone on to sort of explain, rather than sort of fall in line with what the government has been asking them to do based on the law and order in India and what the rules state about such actions that need to be taken. But I think it's nevertheless it's important to note that the government of India, that is the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, has in a coup, in its official account, that is the Ministry of Electronics and IT Government of India account, or the MeitY account on coup, has said, and I quote, that upon the request of Twitter seeking a meeting with the government, the Secretary of Information and Technology was to engage with the senior management of Twitter. So the government is confirming that they were to engage with the senior management of Twitter, but in this light of a blog post published prior to this engagement is highly unusual. So before the engagement, even before the government could hold talks with Twitter, the fact that Twitter has gone on and to use a blog to make its point of view public, the government is saying that it will share its response soon. So obviously the government clearly missed with what Twitter has done once again. In its blog, it's gone on to, talk about their response to this entire, controversy by saying that they believe in transparency being the foundation to promoting healthy public conversation. And it is critical that people understand our approach to content moderation and how we engage with governments around the world, and that they are transparent about the consequences and the results of this work. Twitter, in its blog, saying that Transparency Report and Lumen continue to be the places to go to observe trends in the requests government make of us and to assess how we operate globally. And going on to enforce Twitter, how they, put out Twitter rules and abide by them, saying that January 26th, beginning the 26th of January, their global team provided 24/7 coverage, took enforcement action judiciously and impartially on content, trends, tweets, and accounts that were in violation of the Twitter rules, the global policy framework that governs every tweet on the service. And then they go on to talk about the legal request from the Indian government, specifically talking about the blocking orders by the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology under Section 69A of the IT Act. And out of these two are emergency blocking orders that they temporarily complied with, but subsequently restored access to the content in a manner that they believed was consistent with the Indian law. So they are going to sort of justify restoring the access to handles, saying that they believed that it was consistent with the Indian law. And they're saying that they communicated this to the Information and Technology Ministry, and they were served with a non-compliance notice And they're trying to sort of set the record straight. They're on the back foot, certainly, and saying that here is a list of actions. They're sort of justifying the actions that they've taken as a result of these blocking orders. They're saying they took steps to reduce the visibility of the hashtags containing harmful content, which included prohibiting them from trending on Twitter and appearing as recommended search terms. They're saying they took a range of enforcement actions, including permanent suspension in certain cases against more than 500 accounts escalated across all Ministry of Information Technology orders for clear violation of rules. Separately, Twitter claims that they have withheld a portion of the accounts identified in the blocking orders within India only. Now, these accounts continue to be available outside of India because they do not believe that the actions have been directed to take are consistent with the Indian law and in keeping with their principles of defending protected speech and freedom of speech. They have not taken any action on accounts that consist of news media entities, journalists, activists, politicians, because they say that that would violate fundamental right of free expression under Indian law, and that they inform Ministry of Information and Technology of the enforcement actions, and they will continue to maintain dialogue with the Indian government and respectfully engage with them. So they've been on the complete sort of back foot and justified their actions so far. And looking at the response of the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, they've been on the front foot to say that the Twitter sought a meeting. Secretary of Information and Technology Ministry was to engage with senior management of Twitter. And in the light of this blog post published prior to the engagement, this is unusual. Government has drawn the red line. I think government is saying that, Twitter's blog is unusual even before it could engage with it, and that the government will share its response soon. I think, going by whatever's been happening in the last few weeks, the government is miffed once again, and I'm saying once again because they allowed hate content to be published. They allowed fake news to get a platform. They are blocked and then unblocked these handles and accounts that were asked to be blocked in India. And now they're sort of justifying their actions by putting out a blog even before the meeting was to take place. So I think it's going to be a face-off, and it's a face-off that Twitter could have avoided if it was genuine in its approach. But looks like Twitter has separate, operating. If you look at it, Twitter has separate rules for other countries and separate rules for India. And that's sort of become clear in the manner in which it operates. Because if you look at some of the actions that it has taken outside of India, it is inconsistent. If you look at, for example, I'm just giving an example. Twitter has permanently blocked, had permanently blocked the Donald Trump account, and it is yet to sort of unlock the account. But if you look at what is happening in India, separate set of rules being used here. So this is turning out to be highly controversial. So let's see what comes out of it in the next few hours, because we're expecting a response from the Information and Technology Ministry once again.
Yes, one thing is clear, that the blog post by Twitter hasn't gone down well with the centre, because remember, just before the meeting that Twitter posted an elaborate blog in which it listed out actions it has taken against some of the handles on insistence of the government, but also added why it did not take action against some other. So certainly playing out as a huge controversy. We leave it at that. Many thanks, Niranjan, for sharing those details.